but I am aware that Prince Harry weaponized Meghan Markle against the royal family, and now he seems to be weaponizing the Invictus Games against the royal family. And unfortunately, that hurts a lot more people than just the royal family. Hi, and thanks for joining me. Should Prince Harry be the patron of the Invictus Games? Are Prince Harry and Meghan Markle actually winning the propaganda wars against the royal family? That's two questions I wanted to examine in this video. And as always, I'm really interested in your feedback and comments down below. But let me present my case first, and then you can answer. Whenever I bring up anything about the PR or propaganda wars against the royal family by the dastardly duo, I often get a lot of feedback in the comments, mainly saying, oh, what a load of tosh, what a lot of rubbish. No one reads those articles. No one believes hardcore media. It has zero effect on the royal family. Well, I'm not so sure, because I think it is chipping away at the institution of the monarchy, and I think it is having an impact. And I also think that it is affecting the causes that the royal family actually support, that they're trying to bring attention to. And I think that is really the most important point. Optics matter. And Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are firmly of the belief that any publicity is good publicity as long as they get their names and faces out there, as long as they dominate the news headlines. And they are. Particularly in the last 48 hours, this was actually brought into stark relief by Prince Harry's visit to the UK for the Invictus Games Service at St Paul's Cathedral. Now, when I saw him walking up the steps to the cathedral all alone, I gave a cynical little chuckle and immediately was taken to the thought of his mother, Princess Diana. He is indeed his mother's son, who created that evocative image of herself alone outside the Taj Mahal on a bench. Now, we all know that that image whipped around the world, and it succeeded in painting the then Prince Charles further into the bad guy corner. He was perceived as aloof and cold and cruel to leave his beautiful wife all alone in such a romantic destination. So it worked. And that's my point. Certainly that evocative image of Prince Harry lonely walking up the steps to St Paul's Cathedral would have brought a left eye tear to the Sussex squad and of course Prince Harry fans, but it also could move and shift people that are sitting on the fence. People that don't follow this story. It could definitely win them over. So the other thing I want to examine is, with the Invictus Games being weaponized in this way against the royal family, does that make him unsuitable to be the patron of the Invictus Games? So let's look at the first point. We have heard reports that over 2,000 veterans have actually approached the Invictus Games organisation asking for Prince Harry to be removed as patron of the Invictus Games. Now, this is what I would say would be Harry's argument in reply. So let's have a look at this. This was actually sent to me by someone who is in support of Prince Harry being the Invictus Games patron, and it contains facts, and I think that this would be his best argument. He says, Invictus is in fact going from strength to strength as shown by factual information. So I will give you this factual information because it checks out. 2020, in The Hague, 395 competitors, 100,000 spectators, 800 family and friends, 400 media, 17 nations. Then he skips to 2023 Dusseldorf and he points out there was 550 competitors. So that's an increase. 140,000 spectators, so that's an increase of 40,000 spectators. 1,500 volunteers. Now, he doesn't give me the stats for volunteers in the previous one. 800 media, so according to this, the media doubled, and yes, that checks out, and 21 nations instead of 17 nations. Now, when I checked this out, I also did some fact checking of myself because I thought, okay, we can see the media has increased. We can see the spectators increase. We can see the volunteers. I don't know if they've increased because they didn't give me the stats for volunteers in the other games. But we can see definitely more of a media presence, definitely more media coverage. But then we have to ask ourselves, what sort of media coverage? And when I went back to check it out, I could see that the main focus in Dusseldorf was actually Meghan Markle, not the veterans, not the people competing, not their family and friends, not what the message of the games was all about. Yes, that got mentioned, of course, but the focus wasn't on that. Plus, I found some stats of my own. 535 competitors in Toronto in 2017. Now, this dropped dramatically in 2020 to 395 competitors. Now, I think we can put that down to COVID, don't you? So, we've got to be reasonable about this. It recovered to its original position. The competitors in Toronto, 535, it recovered in Dusseldorf back to 550. So it sort of got back up to where it was. So as far as competitors go, it isn't going from strength to strength. It's just holding a line. And I think we need to look at what is the true goal. What are we looking at to go from strength to strength? Are we looking for more competitors to be involved? Are we looking at more veterans to have the opportunity to actually attend the games? Are we looking that the money raised is going in the right areas, helping veterans get to the games? As it stands now, they have to pay for their own accommodation. They have to pay for their own airfares. They have to pay for their own food. If they want family support, they have to raise the money themselves. Now, I know veteran organisations actually do fundraising and everything to help competitors get there. I know that. But shouldn't the Invictus Games organisation themselves be putting things in place to enable competitor numbers to rise, to enable them to attend, to provide the financial means to ensure more competitors can attend? And that is my point. What is the focus of the Games? Publicity for Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, or the competitors and the meaning of the Games themselves? Also, people make the really good point that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's expenses are covered by the Invictus Games organisation. And this runs into a lot of money. Their accommodation, their 5-star accommodation, their wants and needs, their sort of entourage, everything is covered. And, there's reports that this is running into 1.5 million or even above over the extent of all the actual games. Now, is that right? Is the money going in the right direction? I know patrons of charities have to have their expenses met, but where does that cross the line? Why isn't this examined more thoroughly? I just think it really should be. And I think a real discussion needs to be had, and there needs to be a lot more transparency as well. Now, in the last 48 hours, and of course in the 2 weeks leading up to Invictus Games, but I won't go over all that. I've made my point about Penske Media many, many times, how the PR and the propaganda rolls out from the USA first, and then it hits the Twitter sphere or the exosphere, and then usually UK and world newspapers pick it up at that point. Now, here are some headlines, and this was only from 9 hours ago. Prince Harry being forced to stay at London hotels shows deteriorated relationship with royals. It's sad. Mike Tyndall steps out to support wife Zara after missing Prince Harry's Invictus service. This is my point. Even the horse trials, Prince Harry is actually brought up in the headline. Everything now that is connected with the royal family, Prince Harry or Meghan Markle, are often brought up in the headline. Let's look at some more. How tragic, how betraying must it feel? King Charles can't trust Prince Harry. Now, this completely overshadowed the garden party reporting. Completely overshadowed it. Opinion, King Charles reluctant to forgive Prince Harry. Prince Harry not meeting King Charles during UK visits suggests something quite awful. Prince Harry's big win after royal snub. Prince Harry laughs as he's asked if he's happy to be home on UK soil. Look, it goes on and on and on, literally hundreds in the last 48 hours. And it doesn't matter about the veracity of who's reporting on it. It doesn't matter who they are, which paper it is. It's everywhere. It is not just Harkle-friendly media. Even in Prince William's latest royal duty, where he's bringing attention to beach erosion and the effects to combat it due to climate change, he's also drawing attention to the wonderful volunteer work surf lifesaving clubs do. But the article mentioned Prince Harry and the wonderful memories, sort of evoked by the beach for Prince William in regards to Prince Harry. You couldn't make this stuff up. It really is happening. Now, it's interesting, isn't it? All those headlines that I've read out, and I could read out hundreds and hundreds of more, none of them really mention the Invictus Games. None of them draw attention to the veterans. All of them are sneery about the royal family. All of them elevate Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. It is a barrage. It is an orchestrated, well-oiled campaign. And at this point, I don't really care who's behind it. But I am aware that Prince Harry weaponized Meghan Markle against the royal family, and now he seems to be weaponizing the Invictus Games against the royal family. And unfortunately, that hurts a lot more people than just the royal family. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle exited the UK, all these arrangements were formally, legally, financially organised. They were separated legally, and they were then, from that point, operating as separate legal entities. So the very suggestion that the royal family should have showed up at the Invictus Games Remembrance Service was ludicrous, and also it was a stitch-up. It was to make them look bad. Now, we can rant and rave all we like and say, well, they didn't make them look bad. No one believes it anyway. But the fact is, they looked bad. As unfair as it is, and it is unfair, do I agree they should have showed up? No, not at all. If you listen to my snarky snippet, you'll actually know my position. That's my real position. That's my real self, the snarky side. But my point is, this does do damage. It really, really does. And I think it needs to be looked at. It needs to be acknowledged. I think steps need to be taken. I don't think it's fair to the veterans of the Invictus Games. I really don't. I think it's not fair to all the people that have put in the hard yards and put in the hard work to make the Invictus Games what they are. Let's face it, Prince Harry may be the patron and may provide publicity and may show up a couple of times a year in order to raise money for the Invictus Games, but does he really put in the hours? Does he really put in the 40, 60 hours a week, week after week after week, year after year, to ensure that these games are a success? No, he doesn't. He's just a publicity PR figurehead who does do some work. I will acknowledge that. And he did do some work to get them off the ground. But it pales into insignificance compared to the people that are doing the real work. Now, I am a subscriber to the Hello newsletter, the Royal newsletter, and I know that they are definitely a Prince Harry and Meghan Markle friendly media, but they do also provide some really insightful articles, and because they sort of operated almost like a live blog and you get frequent newsletters, you often get a lot of background information to a lot of events that are relevant, currently in the media. Now, Emily Nash did this newsletter about being inside St. Paul's Cathedral. And I just want to share a little bit about it because she doesn't really seem to have any bias one way or the other until the very end of the article. So she really is just relaying the facts of who is inside the cathedral. I was inside St. Paul's Cathedral yesterday as Prince Harry joined around 1,000 guests, so that's not a definitive number, to reflect on and celebrate 10 years of the Invictus Games Foundation. Now, she says it was beautiful and deeply moving, and I'm sure it was. And it was packed with familiar faces from the 6 international tournaments that are currently taking place for the Invictus Games and all the people to do with the organisation. Now, she points out that the cathedral contained competitors, veterans and Invictus Games staff. And there were, of course, people close to the Duke, which I won't focus on, but a few mentioned were former police protection officers, palace staff, advisors, probably those that supported him in his court challenge to regain his IPP status and security, and his close friend and mentor, Mark Dyer, who he, was referred to as his second father. So Harry sat directly in front of Earl Spencer and Lady Jane Fellows, the brother and sister of his late mother. Now that was interesting because I saw footage of him actually greeting them outside St Paul's Cathedral, whereupon they were told to stay away so they could get the evocative shots of him walking up all those stairs all alone to the front entrance of the cathedral. Interesting because, they embraced. It was a warm welcome. You think he could have just walked up with them, but he had to get his shot. Definitely. So I'll just wrap up with saying that I hope you get my point that even though many will not believe these articles, will not believe these headlines, will not believe this PR, I think the impact, and we saw this with the Diana Legacy Awards, they were overshadowed by Meghan Markle's launch of her business, American Riviera Orchard, because all the articles that, reported on the Diana Legacy Awards, and fair play, they did mention what they were for and they did mention the recipients of the awards, but they also mentioned the launch of Meghan Markle's business, American Riviera Orchard. And the audacity and the shame of that is there is no business. So the Diana Legacy Awards were overshadowed what? For completely nothing. It doesn't even exist. The Netflix show is just being filmed. It hasn't even been formally picked up by them yet. It was just a power play of Meghan Markle's to ensure that she appeared when the Diana Legacy Awards happened. She wanted to make sure that her name got in those articles. And I hate to break it to you, but she succeeded. And they're succeeding again with the Invictus Games, and they're succeeding again with Nigeria. They're embarrassing the royal family. They're chipping away at the institution of the monarchy. So what is the solution? Is the solution to hide our heads and pretend it all doesn't matter and pretend they don't have any impact? Or is the solution to look at it sensibly? Zoom out, take a bird's eye view, and realize that in a lot of the royal family's really important charities, even the garden party didn't get its proper attention. Now, garden parties are to honour volunteers, people that have put in the hard yards and are rewarded with the recognition of being invited to a garden party. And this one was particularly special because it was attended by the King and Queen Camilla and also the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. And didn't Sophie look wonderful, by the way? And didn't Queen Camilla look wonderful? And didn't the King look wonderful? And didn't the Duke look wonderful? It was a marvellous occasion. And it did get suitable reporting, but in a lot of the articles, I'm afraid the dastardly duo were mentioned, particularly Prince Harry, and particularly how bereft and alone he is. So let me know what you think down below. I think it always pays to look at these things honestly, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.